And we are live.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world the heck you are. That don't make no sense what I just said. It's Hump Day with V and Bix, and we are here with the main man, the myth, the legend, the enigma, wrapped in a riddle, the pathfinder on the road to Ruta, the Gandalf of gold, the Sultan of silver, the Baron of Bitcoin, the Count of crypto. None other than Bix Weir. Bix, what's up, buddy?
I'm doing well. I've decided to go on camera for our interview. I don't know is it getting on camera, CJ?
Yeah, you look great. You look beautiful. You look nice and scruffy. You have the beard. You have the beard effect going. I like it. You got your hoodie on.
I was knee deep in making a video in the greenhouse, which I love getting out of the house to make the videos in here.
I'm looking behind you to see if I can find marijuana plants. Just making sure. That's all.
It's so cheap to go buy it now. You can buy it in California. So yeah, you don't need to go
oh man. So
but it was crazy because I completely got lost in what I was doing, which was making a video announcement of Cliff High's new report is out on the cryptocurrencies. And if you guys are following cryptocurrencies, if you have any cryptocurrencies, you got to get Cliff's new report. It's called, I got it right here. It is called, as I shake the whole greenhouse, Curious Crypto Compendium. So go to halfpasthuman.com. He talks about the cryptos, which ones will survive, which may not survive, according to his data and what he's got. Ultimately, in the end, if you aren't invested in cryptocurrencies, you should be. And just get the two safest ones are Bitcoin and Ethereum. And because those are in Cliff's data going out for the end of the century. So imagine what the Bitcoin price will be in 2099.
I can't fathom it. I can't. I really can't. It really would, man. It really would.
What has the US dollar done in the last 100 years? It's lost 99.9% of its value. And if you look at cryptos, they're just beginning to rocket. And it's exciting if you have invested so far. It'll be exciting 5 years from now if you invest right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I cannot reinforce enough that everybody needs to be into it and needs to get involved, because it really is. The technology is getting better and safer and stronger, whereas the alternative to the cryptos is the unbacked fiat monetary system is getting worse and worse and worse by the day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The thing is this, bro. It's like when you tell people that your dollar you have has lost 99% of its value, and we're just trying to warn you that the last remaining 0.1% or 1%, you're about to lose that too. They're like, huh? And they're like, well, cryptos are volatile. Yeah, they're volatile. They go up, they go down. But at the end of the day, you still have purchasing power. You have a ridiculous amount of purchasing power that you're not finding in fiat currencies. And I think that, people need to wake up to that fact. You can't run around it, and it's here to stay. Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the platforms. I mean, recently we had an Ethereum conference right here in Brooklyn, where developers are talking all sorts of platforms, all sorts of new technologies. They're going to be rolling out new apps based upon Ethereum. It is a whole new world, man. A whole new world.
Yeah, I actually, in the video I was just recording.
You were really flying your drone. Don't lie to us.
I have not perfected that yet. I'm working on it. That's the Mavic Pro. Anybody, you got to get a Mavic Pro. But yeah, that it's called the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, I think was the.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. And literally, it's the biggest names of companies working together to use Ethereum to implement the blockchain technology into their businesses.
Yeah.
We're talking
absolutely.
JP Morgan and BP and GE. All these gigantic names. And still, the whole world doesn't even know about it. And because you listen to this show, you listen to the Hump Day show, you have bought some Bitcoin. Tell me you have bought some Bitcoin. Tell me you have bought some Ethereum. Because unless you get in you'll get in. The question is, do you want to get in the beginning, or do you want to get in 10 years from now when you're pretty much required to use it to live?
Right, exactly. And that's the whole entire thing, man. We're telling people to get in on this, 10 months ago? We've been harping on Bitcoin since you and I started Hump Day.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it.
Even further longer than that.
Yeah,
You've been talking about it forever.
Yeah, for a long time. I mean, I rode the Mount Gox crash. I sold most of my Bitcoin at the bottom, like everybody else, and then once you figure out why the crash happened, for example, at Mount Gox, it wasn't somebody hacked into it. That's a complete lie. It was that people started withdrawing their Bitcoin from the Mount Gox exchange, and lo and behold, Mount Gox didn't even have the Bitcoin. Like all these exchanges that trade in huge volumes, you can't trade 1 million coins a day when there's only 16 million coins that's ever. Back then, it was about 10 million coins that have ever been invented.
Exactly.
It is insane. But what happens is you put money into these exchanges, and it's within the exchanges that the Bitcoin is supposedly traded. None of those trades go on the blockchain until it's pulled out. So just another word of warning that you got to be safe with the cryptocurrencies, just like you have to be safe with your silver. Keep it out of you don't want any third-party risk between your Bitcoin or your silver, especially as the banks start to crumble, which I'm hearing is happening as we speak in Spain. Some of the bigger banks are starting to really show some pain. And then the Greek bailout, I think, has been kiboshed once again. So I think it's all happening. And, the bad guys are throwing up false flags like the Manchester bombing. It's clearly a false flag. You don't, 21 million kids with cell phones and videos, and all you see is a couple people panicking in their seats. You don't see.
It's totally normal. Yeah.
You don't see all the 50 or 70 massive injuries. You don't see the 22 dead people supposedly. So yeah, another false flag. It just happened to come out the same day that the Seth Rich story was exploding.
Yeah. No, not only that, man. I mean, you have Ariana Grande, who's some Pop-Tart mind control, pop whore, who was under some, beta sex kitten programming. She's out there. She's a girl who's been into all sorts of dark arts. It was reported since she was 12. And here she is. She's out there doing her little thing. There's all sorts of symbology everywhere. I'm looking at these pictures, Bix. There's pictures of this young girl walking out with her jean ripped with a bandage around her leg. There's no blood anywhere. The bandage doesn't have blood. She doesn't have blood.
What's with everybody's seen that picture. It's like the only injured person picture. And what's with cutting off her leg or jean leg all the way up to like her right below her ass just to wrap a little bandage around her knee?
That's what I'm saying. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. There's no blood anywhere. And again, then there was that shot from within the foyer where there's supposedly dead bodies lying around.
The photo.
The photo.
Those two, the two streaks of blood.
I know. I mean, come on. And we saw that in that Paris massacre, right? In that nightclub.
Insane. And for Manchester, 1 year prior, they had this big terrorist suicide bomber drill.
Yeah, and they had it the other day too, before the attack.
Yeah, there's confusion whether they did it before the attack or it was just the video from the original one that was done a year before.
Well, yeah, either way, right?
They wanted that confusion out there because if you look at the mock attack, it's all filmed and you see it almost looks identical to what was going on at the concert. But everybody, because it was a mock attack, they all had headphones on for the blast and goggles on and fake blood everywhere. So, yeah, the insanity of – and if you look at almost every other one of these false flags from 9/11 to the tube bombing to Paris, they all had events going on in the day, training events on how to stop. Like the day of 9/11, they were running exercises, all kinds of exercises in the military about crashing planes into buildings. I mean, the insanity of what goes on during these false flag events just to get everybody confused and not to ask the real questions. The worst, though, it was Michael Chertoff. Remember the old Homeland Security guy during 9/11?
Chertoff is I think Chertoff, last name Chertoff is Russian for Satan. I think it is.
It should be. He was the guy who supposedly wrote the Patriot Act a couple weeks after, 300-page document was all ready to go 3 weeks after with it basically stripped away all our rights. But he was on the BBC last night talking about the how the UK has to protect themselves. So I'm sure they'll roll out their version of the Patriot Act after this. It's just these people are so obvious and so criminal, and it needs to stop now. Everybody needs to stand up and say no more of this insane false flag stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And you know what? That's not going to happen because the political class now they're, ratcheting up the rhetoric. They're ratcheting up the security state. They want troops on the street. They want this. They want that. And will this make them safer? No, because again, just like with the attacks on the quote unquote with these terrorist events that are occurring all throughout Europe, it's the same story. It's this supposed lone nut job who's been inspired, but yet, the narrative goes, oh yeah, we've been watching him for the last 2 years. Oh yeah, he's been in communication with some of our informants. I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. This guy's been coddled. They knew he was dangerous, and they let it happen. Let it happen.
I don't think it was. I don't think anything happened. I think they set off an explosive that and then
that's also very possible too. Yeah,
they made up a story.
Killed the kid, and then they kill the kid afterwards and say, "Oh, he's a suicide bomber." Where's his body parts anyway?
Well, I mean, it goes back to like the Sandy Hook incident where there's so many unresolved issues with that, and pictures with the kids with Obama afterwards. It's like, what in the world is going on? So nobody knows what's real and what's fake anymore. You can pretty much anything here in the mainstream media, you can say it's fake news, especially on CNN. And the fact that this happened right during the Seth Rich revelation. Seth Rich was I don't know if we've talked about Seth Rich.
No, we haven't.
He's the IT guy that leaked the Hillary secrets. That
yep.
Everybody knows it. I mean, even Julian Assange came out and pretty much said it.
So did King.com.
The problem is it destroys the Russian narrative, and the Russian narrative is all they have to get Trump out. And if Trump stays in, he is going to expose the criminality in Washington. I think part of his latest trip around the world, meeting with all these huge players, I mean, the Saudis and the Israelis and the Pope and the G7 and NATO. I mean, if you're going to go on a trip and say, the game is over, I'm about to pull the plug, those would be the people to meet. So it'll be interesting when he gets back into town. And I think he's obviously just pull the gloves off and say, okay, here I've decided to release the 650,000 documents of the Clinton emails that were found on Anthony Weiner's laptop. A lot of it is disturbing and graphic video and audio conversations. The majority of it is treasonous, and the people who are implicated, it's about a third of Congress, but we have to release this to move forward. That would be the ultimate trump card if they try to, get Trump out of office, and it looks like he's going to be kicked out. If it ever gets to that point, he'll just say, okay, here's the email proof that you guys are lying, cheating, stealing bastards, and we'll let the people decide who they want to believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Trump has a lot of that stuff in his back pocket that can always come out. They try to impeach him at the last, impeachment takes a couple of years anyway, but at the last minute, he can pull that stuff out and say, let the American people decide who they want their leaders to be.
Yeah. Absolutely correct, man. And it's this last desperate play by these globalists, without a doubt, and this is what we're relegated to. What do you think is going to be the further play here? I mean, Theresa May is facing re-election in 2 weeks, which I think she'll get because of this.
The timing of the Manchester thing with the election in the UK, it is just, I mean, this is textbook false flag stuff.
Right. No, it really is, man. It really is. I think we're heading for some crazy stuff, man. Markets, what's going on with markets? Did you hear about our favorite bank, Deutsche Bank, got indicted again on racketeering charges?
I didn't. What's the latest?
It was
with Deutsche Bank every day, but now it's kind of they're too boring. Everything else is more exciting.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, man. Deutsche Bank. What has occurred is they got. Let me see here. Deutsche Bank. Here we go. Let me pull it up for you real quick. Here we go. Where is it? Deutsche Bank says. Deutsche Bank parts ways with Democrats. I just had it pulled up here a second ago. Deutsche Bank crime.
I could tell you about something even probably more important.
With Monte De Pesci, the fraud case in Italy, bro. Did you hear about that?
Oh, there we go. Well, see, that gets into the derivatives along with the silver derivatives. It's Monte De Pesci, Deutsche, Noble Group, and Glencore and Trafigura.
Yes, yes, yes. All the criminal enterprises right there. Again, massive, massive case. We've been talking about the links between Deutsche Bank and Monte De Pesci forever. Oh, yeah. And now it's coming out. It's proof positive. What we've been saying for a long time now, Bix, is now proof positive for everyone to see. It's crazy.
I'd say take a look at Noble Group. Noble Group's the third largest commodity trader in the world, and they have just imploded over the last couple of days. Literally imploded, and they're knee deep in silver derivatives with Deutsche.
Wow, turbulent day, 8% fall. Just today, they had another 8% fall.
Look at like the last couple of weeks.
Unreal.
You have that.
Unreal. Noble Group fighting for its life. Rating agencies warn on risk. Noble Group Ltd. crisis deepened after S&P Global Ratings flagged a risk of default for the commodity trader within a year, triggering a rout in the company shares before they were suspended in Singapore ahead of the company's statement. The 2020 bonds fell to a record low. Noble is fighting for its life now, said Owen Gallimore, head of credit strategy at Australia New Zealand Banking Group Ltd., who's been covering Noble Group since 2008 and has been underweight on the bonds since 2015. We're not sure how long it can sustain without a white knight. They're screwed, bro.
They're screwed, but they're also a monster, like in the trillions of derivative contracts, especially in silver.
What are they going to do when they go pop? Like, what's going to lay out for us the reverberations of what it's going to look like when something like a Noble Group goes bust? Will that take down Deutsche and some of the other criminal offenders? Maybe like Glencore. Glencore needs to go.
Well, if you remember, I did a lot of work on Glencore, Trafigura, and Noble. Glencore and Trafigura, they all share the same upper level traders. All were trained by Mark Rich back in the day. You know, Mark Rich is the king of commodity rigging, physical commodity.
My former ex-boss's boss. So
there you go.
No, Rich very well.
Clinton pardoned him. He was on the most wanted list for decades.
Yep.
Clinton pardoned him when he left because, they said, oh, it's because he gave a dining room table to Hillary Clinton. That's ridiculous. The real story was the strong dollar policy that Clinton and Robert Rubin and Tim Geithner implemented in the 90s had to be facilitated not only on the bank side, but on the physical commodity side. So they hired Mark Rich to do that and control the underlying physical commodities, hide the commodity when they want it to price to go up and completely fake the total inventories when they want the price to go down. It was all a con. And then when Clinton got out of office, his very last thing he did before he left was to pardon Mark Rich.
I'm going to pardon Mark Rich because he gave a dining room table to my wife.
There's Bill. But in reality, what happened to Mark Rich's company? Mark Rich is dead now. But what happened to his company is he split it off into two other companies. One was Glencore, which was a public company, and one was Trafigura, which was private. And they trade, they collude between each other. The Trafigura stuff being, more on the shady side, with Glencore being the monster of the whole thing. I think the CEO of Trafigura stepped down or disappeared or got suicided and went to the Kenley Island for misfit CEOs. But yeah, all that was falling apart a few years back, and then China bailed out the Deutsche Bank derivative issue, and now it's back on the table with the failure of Noble Group. You're going to see a lot of derivatives go sideways. Now, when derivatives go sideways, what happens is it's 2 or 3 weeks before anything is declared. So if we see Noble Group goes belly up, 2 or 3 weeks later, that's a third-party default on trillions of dollars of commodity derivatives, and then you'll see the chain reaction So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting summer when it comes to the banks and the derivative positions, and Deutsche Bank and Citibank, JP Morgan, Monte DePesci. Everything is kind of falling apart. Anything could really kick it off, but everything's falling apart at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What's going on? Speaking of the silver markets, what's going on with gold and silver, man?
Rigged every day out of the basement of the US Treasury. US Treasury building has a basement, and in that basement is their trading floor that they can rig any commodity at any point in time. They can hold silver down with the click of a mouse. That's all it takes. It's all it's taken since the 1970s, since the invention of the computer programs that created electronic assets and that have been rigging the market. Historically, when you went off a gold standard, it usually crashed within 7 to 10 years. And that had been all those, the guys who like to say gold is historically, oh, that's the only money. Just look back in history.
Yeah,
it is true. But historically, it has always collapsed. Every time you went off a gold standard, it would collapse. This time was different because this time they used computers and derivatives to rig the key markets like gold and silver and oil and the US dollar and other currencies. Practically everything that's traded on an exchange, they use the computer programs written by Alan Greenspan in the very early days. And to this day, our markets are still absolutely controlled with computer programs that are mainly traded out of the Fed, New York, and out of the basement of the US Treasury. And that's why Steve Mnuchin, the head of IT at Goldman Sachs, the head of electronic computer market trading, is our U.S. Treasury Secretary today, because he rigs the markets via computers. So you can't expect gold and silver to do anything when the only markets in the world for silver are theoretically the COMEX and the LBMA. Both are computer derivative markets. They're not physical. There's no way that the COMEX trades over 100 billion ounces of physical silver or electronic silver. Yes, they can do. Physical silver, they can't. But the LBMA is the key one. And that's the one that they claim to trade 30 billion, transfer 30 billion ounces of silver every year. On a net basis, on a gross basis, it's over 120 billion ounces of physical silver that moves every year out of the LBMA into different hands. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's how that's why they can't find anybody to do the silver fix. When Reuters and the CME group are backing out, they can't find anybody to take the place because it was a con. So,
hey, CJ, I'm getting some feedback on my. Hold on a second, Ben.
Yeah.
CJ, can you check my audio real quick, man? I'm getting some feedback. I'm hearing myself.
That's never a good thing.
You're hearing yourself?
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
You sound good from
How about now?
Hello.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere else, V.
Lucy. Okay, I'm better now. Good.
Okay,
right,
cool.
Continue. Sorry about that.
You got some explaining to do.
You got some explaining to do, Lucy.
So yeah, I'd say as far as silver, we're gonna wait until it busts free of manipulation. And the day it busts free of manipulation is the day the market's shut down. So something to look forward to. And if you believe the Economist magazine from 1988, that day is in 2018, which is the date on the gold coin around the phoenix's neck.
Yeah.
And the cover of that magazine saying, get ready for a one world currency. Now everybody is mixing that up with the one world government.
Right.
Gold is a one world currency already. It has always been a currency in every country. Well, not always, but it's considered money in every country around the world and considered to be of value. So I would say, but a one world currency does not mean one world government necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did something like the Amero and tried to, combine all the northern continents into one currency. That would be, controlled by bankers, a centralized control. But gold theoretically should not be seen as controllable, although it has been via computers and derivatives. The key to all this is getting rid of the criminal banking system and the what I call the bad guys who run it. meaning the bad guys in the West, the bad guys in Europe. Asia is trying to break free of it. Russia's trying to break free of it. Countries in the Middle East are turning more and more to gold. So yeah, the world is changing. If you believe the Road to Ruta stuff that came out of the Fed Boston, the good guys are being taken out. And if you believe what it says on the new $100 bill, that we reserve the right to overthrow our government anytime we want, then you can kind of see where we're headed. And there are people within the United States who are taking out these bad guys. And it's going to be a great day when people like Clinton and Bush and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are held to account for what they've done. And I don't think they ever will be, because I think they'll suicide themselves before that happens. But definitely things are coming out in the open, and that's what the chaos feels like. The chaos stems directly from these battles behind the scenes. So it'll keep going. I can't wait till Trump gets back, and hopefully he can come back with a little fire in his step and some real truth bombs that he can lay on these criminals.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Speaking of criminals, what say you about Maxine Waters from your state?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, there's a difference between Northern California and Southern California.
Explain to the listeners the difference between Northern California and Southern California.
On one level, you could think of Southern California as plastic people and Northern California as like granola people.
Oh, nice.
But completely, I mean.
So let me get this straight. So one side is completely, totally fake, and the other side is filled with flakes, fruits, and nuts.
Yeah, but I mean, that's on one level. On another level, Northern California is more down to earth. Southern California is more surface oriented, looks wise, and how people act, and it's Hollywood. And Northern California is more like I'm not going to say like Berkeley, because it's like its own little country in Berkeley, where the university is, and I would say every university around the United States has totally, completely lost any concept of reality. And I would say that even some of the people within these colleges who were very left-leaning are starting to flip. The latest is some push towards like 83 genders or something like that they're trying to identify 83 different, there's transsexual, there's all this stuff, 83 different types. My son was telling me the other day it's gotten out of control. And it's sad because it's destroying the universities, which I think should be destroyed anyway. I think it's time we teach people how to live instead of teach people how to go to school and regurgitate the lies that they're told. So,
yeah.
How'd we get on that? Wait, we're in Northern California, and Northern California is better because it's got cooler weather, and I'm more of a cooler weather. Not like today, it's like 50 degrees today, and my garden is suffering. But yeah, LA is hot and sunny, and Baywatch type people, and Northern California is cooler and I think smarter. But hey, that's what I like to say. I'm biased.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly, man. But and I agree with you. I agree with you. With that being said, bro, Brian, I'm slurring my speech here, bro. I'm losing it.
There's something I wanted to commend you on. One of the greatest shows on the YouTube chat rooms these days is Cuss with Gus. Is awesome.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Gus Demas is the man.
I heard the inaugural show, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna tune in every week.
Dude, yeah, I'm telling you, man, Cuss with Gus is where it's at. If you want to cuss with Gus, join us every Thursday. CJ, I don't know what time it is.
My favorite is not necessarily the cussing, which is there's plenty of cussing, but is like there's no boundaries on what you guys deal with and how you say it, and it's like the gloves are off and you can say anything that you want, which is obviously you'll get no YouTube monetization from those shows.
None whatsoever. Time's hard, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start opening up one of those food carts and start selling like banana milkshakes on the corner of Manhattan on Fifth Avenue or something like that, just to make ends meet.
You do put your email public address or your Bitcoin public address right in the comments section, so that and make the announcement, hey, YouTube won't pay us a penny for this, but you can donate a little to the Cuss with Gus show.
Yeah, exactly. Help fund our adventures. I too need a drone.
It's actually already there with the super chat now.
What?
Oh, there you go.
What do you mean super chat? What are you talking about?
The super chat, you can actually monetize live shows now. So if you look in the chat room, there's a $sign there now.
Oh wow!
Where people can contribute to the live show. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Hit the $signs, everyone. Help support me and Bix.
Ching, 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 ching.
Come on. Bix needs a bigger greenhouse, and I need to get a greenhouse.
Well, the problem with my greenhouse, I don't know if you can see, I've got a one of those lamps that help the flowers grow. The problem with my greenhouse is California has been so cold and foggy, and then it's a hot day, so then the buds come out, and then it's a cold day, so they don't go anywhere, and it's just a nightmare. The weather is killing me.
It's unreal. It really is, man. I don't know how you deal with it. It's crazy. Move to San Diego.
My daughter's down in San Diego.
That's paradise, man. 75 degrees all year round.
I go to visit all the time. I'm like,
I went to San Diego a few times for business trips. I'd go on La Jolla Beach in Carlsbad, and all I wanted to do is just quit my life and open up a flip-flop store and rent bicycles to tourists, man. That's all I wanted to do.
Well,
I just want to lay on the beach and be a bum. Live that salt life, you know.
Gus and Will are down there.
Are they really?
Yeah,
that's right. They're in San Diego right now.
They're The Perpetual Assets is out of San Diego, and let's give them a little plug. Perpetualassets.com. If you have any money in a 401k or a IRA account, call up Will and Gus at perpetualassets.com and get it out of the system. You need to be out of third parties, even your retirement. And you can do a self-directed IRA, roll it over, and it won't cost you any money in penalties and fees and all that. And you can roll it over into physical silver or even physical Bitcoin, physical Ethereum in your own possession in your retirement account.
I mean, you can't beat that with a stick. And it meets all the guidelines for the IRS and all the other federal regulations and guidelines. It is an awesome program. It cuts the mustard with their strict and stringent regulations. Check it out, folks. Perpetualassets.com. Get your 401k rolled over. And then back end, you're helping out guys like Bix and myself keep the lights on. And Bix will continue to grow plants, because right now all I see is like 2 plants behind there, bro.
Well, true. But hey, here's the phone number for Perpetual Assets: 888-281-2630.
Yep.
And tell them that Bix and V sent you guys there, and he'll help you out. And he loves to talk about conspiracy theories. So.
And you get to cuss with Gus.
Yeah, you could ask for. I'd rather deal with Will because it's less cussing. But hey, if you like it, go with Gus.
Absolutely.
That guy got anything bad to say about cussing? Actually, when you guys are ready to have your first guest, I'll get on there and cuss with you guys.
You know what? I think we'll make that happen. You'll be our first cussing guest.
Might have to have a few cocktails while I'm doing it.
It's brilliant. What else is on your radar, my man?
Well, the transition is getting so messy. When I say the transition, taking out the bad guys, as I've been, the road to root of theory is all about. There are people within the United States that are trying to take out these bad guys that rule our country and control our lives. The more and more, as we get closer and closer, it'll get more and more messy. And we're seeing that in the politics. We're going to see it in the banking system this summer. It's going to get really ugly stock market wise, and cryptocurrencies are going to go crazy. It gets very scary. And that's kind of one of the things I'm dealing with is, okay, so when do you bug out? If you're going to bug out of the city, when do you bug out? And I think one of the biggest problems in this whole transition thing, and the reason that these people were allowed to control our lives for so long without anybody stopping them, is the transition is going to be really, really bad. as in millions will die, because we are so dependent on the nanny state that has been developed. And even us preppers are completely dependent upon the nanny state. And the nanny state takes care of our, health insurance, our police and fire department and medical care, and you name it, we're being taken care of, our education. And when that all falls apart and the banking system crashes, there will be no services available. So it's kind of like, how do you restart if no one's there to help you? And that's kind of what I'm trying to get my hands around. But the alternative is to keep these bad guys in charge. And they've set this system up so that we are totally dependent upon the state. And it's really sad. Right now, 35 million people work directly or indirectly for the federal government. And that was never meant to be in the United States. We were supposed to be the states were supposed to take care of their own problems and issues with very limited oversight from the federal government. And somehow it is just, we've screwed ourselves. We've become so dependent on government entities that we don't know how to function without them. So when this crash does happen, which I believe it will, and it's being forced to happen, I think, we'll see millions of people die, and it's really sad. But it's even worse living as a slave. So, we got to make a decision one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely correct, man. Absolutely correct. I think, it's the more people take control of their own lives, their own assets. And, I was having this conversation with a few clients today. I said, here's the deal. Everybody in this country has a hustle. And they're like, V, what the hell do you talk? What are you talking about? I said, well, think about it for a second. When you look at the poor in this country, right? The poor have a hustle. They really do. There's a lot of, I'm not saying all of them, but there's a lot of them that get on welfare, they get on food stamps, and they work a job that's off the books. Maybe they work multiple jobs off the books. They got a little side gig. Maybe they're selling, things that are, on the side, that some of which are legal, some of which might not be. But the point is, they're milking the system. And then you look at the rich up top. They got to hustle as well. They're utilizing whatever legal loopholes, whatever is in their means, to really get themselves ahead. So the only person here that is getting screwed is the middle class guy, and the middle class guy is the one that follows the rules the most. He's the guy who's taught to save, get a 401k, put a little away from retirement, pay your taxes, and he's getting shafted, man. I think it's people need to savvy up. People need to stop trusting institutions with their things, because the institutions do not have your best interests. I mean, Bix, you and I have seen this transition from the world of money management, where it's no longer about how a client's portfolio is performing. It's just all about how much volume the firm can produce, man. And people need to move away from that. It's time people get responsible with their own destinies, bro.
I agree. And you know who the people who are going to suffer the most in this transition are not the poor.
No.
They're already used to kind of fending for themselves to a point. It's going to be the people who have been well off.
Yep.
And they're going to find that their protection is going to be number one problem. People coming from poor areas looking for food and stuff, going up and down through the rich neighborhoods, house to house. The wealthy aren't used to this fending for themselves on the streets. So it should be really interesting. There's going to be a lot of anger, too, towards bankers and people involved in finance and anybody involved in government. So it's just a really scary time we're coming into. But the other thing is that we will get through this and we will get past it. It has to be done. The only reason we're in this position right now is that it's been put off for so long. It's been put off since 1913, the takedown of these criminals who control us. And, no matter how much fighting and screaming goes on within government and outside of government, nobody's ready to, as Catherine Austin Fitts said, who's going to press that red button? And I think humanity's at that point where we have to press the button and deal with the transition out of the old system and into something new, something that we create and we control, and something that's much better than what we had in the past. Absolutely, man. I agree with you. I think we've covered pretty much a litany of everything, have we not? Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy time out there. Again, I'm going to lift it up again. There's the front page of the Cliff High's Curious Crypto
Compendium.
It's $99. Had you bought it last month and done what he said and bought some of these cryptos, you would have been a wealthy person by now in 1 month.
Yeah.
So spend the $99, get the report. It goes through a lot of the different cryptos, and I am a big advocate of basically sticking to the main ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum, for safety. If you want to play in the other cryptos, he names 5 or 6 where at least his WebBot report says is going to happen to him. Really interesting stuff. Spend the $99, get the report, and then get yourself in the crypto game, because it's going to be here for decades and decades and decades. Your kids will be looking at you saying either, thank God you knew about, you bought Bitcoin in the early days, or they're going to say, Dad, why didn't you buy Bitcoin in the early days?
Well, you see, son, I was contributing to my 401k.
But Dad, you kept saying that the government was bad and the monetary system was bad. Why didn't you act upon it?
Because I was too chicken shit, Junior, to do anything. And, I figured it was best that I go into the basement and eat cat food.
Oh, Dad, what are we going to do with you?
Put me now. You can put me in the nursing home, Junior. Put me in my Obamacare death panel.
So one more thought. I had, about a year ago, I said I was going to try to go, as far as asset allocation for my investment, I was going to try to go 50% in physical silver and 50% in the cryptocurrencies. Obviously, the cryptocurrencies have done much better than this highly suppressed silver. But now I'm saying, because I have to adjust so much, I keep buying physical silver, I'm going to adjust to 75% cryptocurrencies and 25% physical silver.
Wow.
So, because I know both of them will do well, and a lot of people say that they'll do well together because of the same reasons, because the unbacked fiat system is crashing. Mm-hmm. That's possible, but it might also be a situation where one does so much better than the other that it makes it unviable in the transition. For example, can they hold silver and gold down and back for so long that everybody gets into the cryptocurrencies while gold and silver are still depressed, so that when the banks crash, it's an easier transition to the cryptocurrencies than it would be going back to gold and silver? I don't know. It would be sad for all the silver investors. And then on the flip side, if the cryptocurrencies crash for any reason, anything is possible. All that money would try to get back into gold and silver physical. So it's kind of like there's 3 different ways it can go, and you want to make sure that you're covered in any eventuality, whether the cryptos, take the lead, or it's a combination of both, or everything goes back to gold and silver. But one thing we do know is that the unbacked fiat system is not long for this world.
Yeah, absolutely. 1000% correct. Bix, plug your site, your work, and your subscription services, and how people can follow you, your social media.
Well, I am like the king of posting YouTube videos now. I do about 2 a day. One, the morning news, the Horn of Z's, as I call it. And that basically goes down some of the things that are happening. And then I'll try to put out something else on a different topic, not related necessarily to the news, but more related to the transition out of the old system where the bad guys control us into something new. And I do think it is a great time to be alive, and I wouldn't trade this time for any other time in history. We are on the cusp of something amazing, and we get to live through it, good or bad. We're going to have to live through it. So, yeah, and go to roadtoruta.com. If you put your name in for free emails, you get a free book called Silver, Gold, Bitcoin, and God, all those things that we love.
Absolutely. And with that being said, guys, you can follow me at Rogue Money on Twitter. And check us out on Facebook, Rogue Money, roguemoney.net, and Rogue Money, the YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also check out Bix's YouTube channel, The Road to Ruta. Make sure you subscribe over there and hit the notification bell, so when he does his cup of Z's in the morning, you will be alerted.
Horn of Z's.
I'm sorry, Horn of Z's. Why can't you just call a cup of Joe with Bix?
It's a Northern California language. It's a Northern California language.
I'll leave you to it. Horn of Z's.
I got to keep people off balance just a little.
It sounds like some sort of cough syrup you would have. I'll have a hornet disease. Kidding. It's all good. Subscribe to Bix's show. Hit the notification bell so when he uploads the Horn of Z's or any one of his million updates that he does, because he is a YouTube phenom right now. Check him out, and you'll be alerted. With that being said, guys, we are over and out. Take it away, CJ.